Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today for a thought-provoking presentation. The title of our talk is Do Not Love Half Lovers. We'll explore the idea that love requires wholeness and how, in our modern world, many of us encounter situations where that full connection is missing. Over the course of these slides, we'll reflect on Khalil Gibran's timeless words and discuss what it truly means to love fully. So, let's dive in and uncover some meaningful insights together. Sometimes, what looks like distance or lack of intimacy in a relationship can actually stem from different underlying issues. One possibility is narcissism, where a person might keep others at arm's length to protect their ego or avoid vulnerability. On the other hand, avoidant attachment patterns often come from deep-seated fears of being hurt or overwhelmed, leading someone to withdraw. At first glance, these behaviors, distance, defensiveness, a lack of closeness, can seem quite similar. But here, the reasons behind them are very different. Recognizing this is crucial if we want to love wisely. Understanding whether someone is acting out of narcissism or avoidant attachment helps us respond more compassionately and effectively. It allows us to see beyond surface behaviors and connect with the real motives. This distinction is essential because it influences how we approach building healthier relationships. So, as we continue, keep in mind that understanding these underlying motives is a powerful step toward fostering genuine connection and love. Let's take a closer look at how narcissism and avoidant attachment can sometimes appear similar in behavior, but the key difference really comes down to intent. When someone is narcissistic, their actions are often driven by a need for validation, admiration, or a desire to maintain control and superiority. It's about how they see themselves and how they want others to see them. On the other hand, someone with an avoidant attachment style might act distant or indifferent, but that's usually rooted in a fear of intimacy or vulnerability. Their intent isn't to manipulate or seek admiration. It's more about protecting themselves from getting hurt or overwhelmed. So even if their behaviors, like withdrawing or seeking attention, look alike on the surface, understanding the underlying motivation is crucial. It helps us see that these behaviors are not just random or superficial. They are driven by different emotional needs and fears. This distinction is essential because it influences how we respond and support people with these tendencies. Recognizing whether it's an issue of self-esteem and validation or fear and avoidance really shapes the approach we take. And tying this back to our overall theme, it reminds us that understanding someone's true intent helps us foster more empathy and effective communication, rather than just reacting to surface behaviors. Let's delve into the narcissist's true intent behind their behavior. When a narcissist withholds affection, it's not about protecting themselves. Instead, it's a way to punish and dominate others. This avoidance becomes a weapon they use to control the situation. They thrive on admiration and constant validation. Being the center of attention is essential for them. Conflict, they don't fear it. In fact, they often provoke it intentionally. Why? To keep you off balance, to isolate you, and to make you question yourself. Their goal is to make you cling to them, believing they are your only source of safety. At the core, their self-centeredness stems from ego, pride, and a deep hunger for control. Understanding this helps us see that their actions are driven by a need to dominate, rather than any real concern or protection. Recognizing these patterns is crucial in understanding their underlying motives and protecting ourselves from their influence. Let's talk about the avoidance intent. Their main goal isn't to manipulate or dominate others. Instead, their distance comes from a place of fear, not cruelty. Many avoidant individuals have been deeply wounded in the past, often during childhood, and because of that, they believe that the safest way to avoid being hurt again is to keep everyone at arm's length. Their fierce independence acts as a shield against vulnerability. It's important to understand that unlike narcissists, who may seek control, avoidantly attached people are primarily trying to protect themselves. At first glance, both might seem cold, detached, or even selfish. But once we understand the underlying reasons, whether it's rooted in domination or fear, it really changes how we see their behavior. So the key takeaway here is that the avoidance distance isn't about control. It's about self-preservation rooted in past wounds. Recognizing this helps us approach these individuals with more empathy and clarity. So even though narcissists and avoidants are quite different in many ways, they can still leave us feeling very similar. They both have the ability to make us feel unloved, unseen, and invalidated. That's because, on a surface level, they share some common traits. For example, both tend to avoid true vulnerability. They don't easily open up about their deeper feelings, which makes genuine connection difficult. Both also struggle with intimacy, meaning they find it challenging to truly connect on a deep emotional level. You might notice that they can be defensive or dismissive when faced with criticism or emotional discomfort. Sometimes, they might invalidate your feelings, making you feel like your experience isn't important. Another commonality is that they can play the victim or deflect responsibility when things go wrong. Instead of owning their part, they might shift the focus away from themselves. And lastly, both types are often very sensitive to shame and criticism. They take it personally, which can intensify their defensive behaviors. Understanding these surface similarities helps us see why their behaviors can feel so alike, even though their underlying motivations are quite different. It's a key piece of the puzzle in understanding how these traits impact our emotional experience. From the partner's perspective, the experience of being in a half-hearted relationship can be just as painful as it is for the other person. You might find yourself walking on eggshells, always cautious about how you express yourself, hopping for closeness that never seems to materialize. It's a feeling of longing and frustration, combined with a sense of inadequacy because your needs are often dismissed or ignored. This is precisely why Gibran's warning about half-lovers resonates so deeply. When someone can't meet you fully, whether it's due to manipulation, fear, or other reasons, it often leaves you carrying the emotional burden alone. You're left feeling like you're doing all the work to keep the relationship afloat, even when the other isn't fully present or committed. And connecting this to our overall theme, it highlights how imbalance and lack of genuine connection can be so damaging. It's not just about the other person's actions. It's about understanding how these dynamics can lead to pain on both sides. Recognizing this helps us see why honesty, mutual respect, and full presence are essential for healthy relationships. The deeper lesson here is really about understanding that it's not about labels or trying to categorize love in a certain way. Instead, what matters most is asking yourself what love should feel like for you personally. Often, we get caught up in the idea that love means constant anxiety about being abandoned or fear of losing someone. But that's not what true love is about. It's also not about begging for crumbs of attention, hoping that if we just try harder, we'll get the love we deserve. And it definitely isn't about enduring disrespect or neglect, all while hoping the other person will change someday. So, the key takeaway is to really reflect on what love feels like for you. What makes you feel safe, valued, and respected? This connects to the overall theme of the presentation, which is about recognizing healthy boundaries and understanding your worth in relationships. Because, at the end of the day, love should uplift you, not drain or diminish you. The work we're talking about here isn't about trying to fix the other person. Instead, it's about focusing on strengthening yourself. Building your self-esteem is crucial because when you feel confident and secure within, you no longer depend on someone else to complete you or fill that emptiness. It's also essential to face your fear of abandonment. When you confront this fear, you're less likely to stay hostage to toxic relationships that drain you or hold you back. Setting clear standards and boundaries is another key point. When you establish what's acceptable and what's not, you stop tolerating neglect, disrespect, or manipulation from others. This creates a healthier space for yourself. And sometimes, you need to detach with clarity, meaning, when someone repeatedly shows they can't meet your needs or respect your boundaries, you have to be willing to step back. The most important concept here is that the right person won't be pushed away by your boundaries. In fact, they'll be drawn closer because they recognize your self-respect. When you value yourself enough to set these boundaries, you attract healthier relationships. All of this ties back to the overall theme. By working on your inner strength and self-worth, you create the foundation for better, more fulfilling connections. Gibran's wisdom in practice is all about embracing authenticity and love. When we talk about not loving half-lovers, we're really emphasizing the importance of not settling for relationships where fear or ego take the place of true intimacy. It's about choosing partners who meet us with openness, not games, and with courage, not avoidance. This can be a hard truth to accept, but the reality is that wholeness in love begins with wholeness within ourselves. The more we work on cultivating our self-worth, the less likely we are to mistake fear for love or manipulation for genuine passion. Gibran's poetry isn't just beautiful art, it's a call to summon our courage. It urges us to love whole or not at all. Because at the end of the day, true love requires us to be whole and to seek the same in our partners.